the foundation of network communication understanding ARP. In the interconnected world of computer networks, devices constantly communicate with each other. This communication relies on a fundamental protocol known as the Address Resolution Protocol, or ARP. Imagine you want to send a letter to your friend. You know their name and address, but the postal service needs their exact location to deliver it. Similarly, in a network, devices use IP addresses to identify each other. However, to physically transmit data packets, they need the corresponding MAC address, a unique hardware identifier assigned to each network interface card, or NIC. ARP acts as a bridge between these two addresses. When a device wants to communicate with another device on the same network, it first checks its ARP cache, a local table that stores recently learned IP to MAC address mappings. If the mapping is not found, the device broadcasts an ARP request packet onto the network. This packet asks, "Who has this IP address? Please tell me your MAC address." The device with the matching IP address responds with an ARP reply packet containing its MAC address. The requesting device updates its ARP cache and then sends the data packet to the correct destination. ARP poisoning. An introduction. While ARP is essential for network communication, it also presents a security vulnerability that attackers can exploit. ARP poisoning, also known as ARP spoofing, is a type of cyber attack that allows an attacker to intercept and manipulate network traffic on a local area network, or LAN. In essence, the attacker sends out fake ARP replies, poisoning the ARP caches of other devices on the network. These fake replies associate the attacker's MAC address with the IP address of a legitimate device, such as a router or another computer. As a result, any traffic intended for the legitimate device is misdirected to the attacker's machine instead. This gives the attacker the ability to eavesdrop on sensitive information, modify data in transit, or even launch further attacks. The mechanics of ARP poisoning, a step-by-step breakdown. To understand how ARP poisoning works, let's break down the attack into a step-by-step process. First, target selection. The attacker first chooses their target, typically a specific device or the entire network. Next, spoofed ARP replies. The attacker crafts and sends out spoofed ARP reply packets onto the network. These packets contain the attacker's MAC address but falsely claim to be from the target device or the default gateway. Then, ARP cache poisoning. Unsuspecting devices on the network receive these spoofed ARP replies and update their ARP caches accordingly. They now associate the attacker's MAC address with the IP address of the legitimate device. Following that, traffic interception. With the ARP caches poisoned, any traffic intended for the legitimate device is now routed to the attacker's machine. Finally, man-in-the-middle position. The attacker sits between the victim and the intended destination, intercepting and potentially manipulating the data flowing between them. The perils of ARP poisoning, real-world dangers. ARP poisoning poses significant risks to both individuals and organizations. Some of the potential dangers include data theft. Attackers can capture sensitive information such as usernames, passwords, credit card details, and other personal data as it traverses the network. Session hijacking. By intercepting and modifying traffic, attackers can hijack active sessions, gaining unauthorized access to online accounts or even impersonating legitimate users. Data manipulation. Attackers can alter data in transit, such as financial transactions or website content, leading to financial loss or reputational damage. Denial of service. ARP poisoning can disrupt network communication, effectively denying service to legitimate users. And finally, malware spreading. Attackers can inject malware into network traffic, infecting devices and spreading infections throughout the network. To illustrate the real-world impact of ARP poisoning, let's consider a few hypothetical but plausible scenarios. Imagine you're at a coffee shop using their free public Wi-Fi. An attacker on the same network launches an ARP poisoning attack, redirecting traffic intended for the router to their own device. They can now intercept your online activity, potentially capturing your login credentials for websites you access. In a corporate setting, an attacker gains access to the network and launches an ARP poisoning attack, targeting a specific employee's computer. They can now monitor the employee's communications, potentially stealing confidential company information or intellectual property. A user at home connects to their online banking website. Unbeknownst to them, an attacker has poisoned their ARP cache, redirecting traffic to a fake banking website controlled by the attacker. When the user enters their login credentials, the attacker captures this information and gains access to their bank account. Safeguarding your network. Detecting ARP poisoning. Detecting ARP poisoning is crucial for mitigating its risks. Several methods can help identify suspicious activity. Network monitoring tools. Utilize network monitoring tools that can analyze ARP traffic and alert you to unusual patterns or inconsistencies. Look for duplicate MAC addresses associated with a single IP address, which could indicate an ARP poisoning attack. ARP cache inspection. Regularly inspect the ARP caches of your devices for suspicious entries. You can use the command in Windows or the command in Linux or macOS to view the ARP cache. Intrusion detection systems. Deploy an IDS that can monitor network traffic for ARP poisoning attempts and other malicious activities. Preventive measures. Thwarting ARP poisoning attempts. While detecting ARP poisoning is essential, implementing preventive measures can significantly reduce the risk of falling victim to such attacks. Use static ARP entries. Configure static ARP entries on critical devices, mapping IP addresses to MAC addresses manually. This prevents attackers from poisoning the ARP cache for these devices. Implement network segmentation. Divide your network into smaller, isolated segments to limit the impact of an ARP poisoning attack. If one segment is compromised, the others remain protected. Use ARP spoofing detection software. Deploy specialized software that can detect and block ARP spoofing attempts in real time. These tools often use techniques like packet inspection and anomaly detection to identify and prevent malicious ARP traffic. Educate users about network security. Train users on basic network security practices, such as avoiding the use of public Wi-Fi for sensitive activities and being cautious of suspicious emails or links. Staying ahead of the curve. Best practices for network security. In addition to the specific measures mentioned above, adhering to general network security best practices is crucial for maintaining a secure network environment. Keep software up to date. Regularly update all software, including operating systems, applications, and network devices, to patch vulnerabilities that attackers could exploit. Use strong passwords. Create strong, unique passwords for all accounts and devices, and consider using a password manager to securely store and manage your credentials. Enable firewall protection. Activate firewalls on all devices to block unauthorized access and filter malicious traffic. Be cautious of social engineering. Be wary of phishing emails, suspicious links, or unexpected phone calls that could be attempts to trick you into revealing sensitive information or granting access to your network. Conclusion: the importance of cybersecurity vigilance. In today's interconnected world, cybersecurity threats are constantly evolving, and ARP poisoning remains a potent tool in an attacker's arsenal. By understanding how ARP poisoning works, the risks it poses, and the preventive measures available, individuals and organizations can take proactive steps to safeguard their networks and protect their valuable data. Remember that cybersecurity is an ongoing process, requiring vigilance, awareness, and a commitment to staying informed about the latest threats and mitigation strategies. By implementing a multi-layered approach that combines technical safeguards with user education and best practices, we can create a more secure and resilient digital environment.